Live from New York, this is WIUR Radio.
Hello and good morning, everyone, and good morning around the state of New York. You are looking live here at the Murphy Center on North Ave here in New Rochelle, New York. And welcome back to another episode of Harry Highlights. Yes, sirree. For those of you who are new to WIUR, this is Harry Highlights, and this is the second episode. This is the podcast that brings you news and headlines about sports around Iona, New York, and all around the nation. So let's get started. We got a lot to break down today. We got a lot of headlines, a lot of news that has just happened over this past weekend and over this past couple of weeks. We had the Super Bowl last weekend. We had some major news around the NHL, NBA, the MLB as we get closer to spring training. And we also have some major news with some of our basketball teams and athletic teams here at Iona. So let's start off with the men's and women's basketball team, as always. So it was a bit of a rocky week for the Iona men's basketball team. The Iona men's basketball team had a challenging week in MAC action this week. On February 5th, the Gales fell on the road against a tough Siena team, 79-72, despite a 20-point night from Toby Harris and solid contributions from CJ from CJ CJ Anthony and Dever England. The Gales unfortunately fell short 79-72. And also Saturday was a bit of a tough game. Saturday, the Gales returned to the Hack to take on Mount St. Mary's, but dropped another tough loss, 83-76. Lamine Sabali had a stellar performance. He scored 20 points and 11 rebounds, having a double-double that night. And CJ Anthony added on and contributed with 14 points and 18 assists. But the Mountaineers' depth ultimately made the difference. And then after these two losses, the Gales now fall to 14-11 overall, but 6-8 now in MAC play. Two tough losses. I mean, the Gales, they're still fighting. They're playing well, but those two losses against some really tough teams. Siena, obviously, one of the tough teams to play in the MAC. Jerry McNamara is one of the best coaches in the MAC conference, and Mount St. Mary's, they just flat out outbeat the Iona Gales. I unfortunately couldn't make the game. But I was watching some of the game on the ESPN app, and the Mount St. Mary Mountaineers took control of the game. They outscored the Gales. They flat out beat them from 3-point range and on the perimeter defensively, and the Gales just could not get it going. And there's only like 6 or 5 games left of the season. So for the Iona Gales, if they want to fight for a playoff spot and if they want to be playing at Atlantic City in March, they're going to have to step it up and they're going to have to win some more games coming up here. They still have to play Manhattan in Riverdale. You still have to play against St. Peter's, which St. Peter's is tied right now with Merrimack in the MAC conference. But the Gales here, you still have about like 6 or 5 games left, but this is the time where you got to start playing basketball and you got to have to start letting things run here and you got to start winning games. It's all about winning games, getting points, and getting back into a groove. So let's swing it over to women's basketball. So The Iona women's basketball team battled all week, but came up just short in some tough contests. On Thursday, the Gales lost a close one to Mount St. Mary's, 63 to 62 in the game that saw lead changes and a strong effort across the board. And then on Saturday, Iona faced the MAC powerhouse, the Fairfield Stags, as they went on the road to Fairfield, Connecticut to take on the Fairfield Stags, but unfortunately fell 82 to 46, which was a difficult test on the road. The Fairfield Stags, obviously a top five team in the MAC. They have so much grit. Their lineup is star studded on every cylinder, and the Gales they went on and played a tough game on the road, but just unfortunately fell short. Um, but that's a good game to play on the road, and that's a good opponent to play against. Because we know the Stags, they're a tough team to play. They got star power on every cylinder, whether it's shooting, defending. Obviously one of the best teams to play in the MAC. But for the Iona Gales, both these teams, men's and women's, they played two tough games. Um, and they played their hearts out, so you got to give them credit. But this goes for both men's and women's. This is the time where you got to step it up and play with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, and it's just all about winning games, getting more points, and hopefully you're playing for a chance to win a MAC championship in Atlantic City coming up in March. So let's go to the professional sports. So really quickly, let's talk about the Super Bowl. So last night was the Super Bowl. The Seattle Seahawks won a thrilling game against the New England Patriots. The Seahawks basically just dominated that game from start to finish. And I want to talk about the Patriots for the second. So Drake May, first Super Bowl, did not look like himself. And obviously, when you play your first ever Super Bowl, the first time you're on the big stage, that's where that's a point where you learn, you get the nerves out, you get all the butterflies out, and you really learn and take away the whole experience of the Super Bowl and the whole experience of playing in the National Football League. Like this is all about. This is it's all about playing in big time games like these. It's all about making it to this contest year after year. And I think Drake May last night was a learned lesson from him. So obviously the Patriots underperformed and they didn't get the results they want, but I think this is just a stepping stone for them. So I think they'll be back and they're going to get better in the offseason and they're going to improve. But man, the Seattle Seahawks, their defense was nasty from start to finish. They were controlling the game. They got so much pressure on Drake May. They had two turnovers. Former Notre Dame Fighting Irish Julian Love had an interception last night, followed by a strip sack for return. And the Seahawks defense, they were getting so much pressure and they were just getting through that Patriots offensive line. And that was the whole reason why they won the game. It was basically a defensive game until the second half when the Seahawks finally scored that touchdown that put them up 19 nothing. And then the Patriots scored with that Hollins touchdown. But the Patriots, they just could not respond when they needed to. Drake made that sack fumble that cost them the game, and the Seahawks basically just said that's ball game, and they just took the Super Bowl. They went into Santa Clara and took the Lombardi Trophy back to to Seattle. So I got to give major props to Sam Darnold. He played one heck of a game. He's a phenomenal quarterback. And I know that a lot of Jet fans last night were so excited to see Sam Darnold, their former quarterback, get one Super Bowl. Because we all know uh, Sam Darnold had a rocky tenure with the New York Jets. But he really came through for the Seahawks last night, and he showed everyone that he is a great quarterback. He can contend for Super Bowls, and winning that Super Bowl, I could not be more happy for Sam Darnold on what he showed last night in terms of a quarterback and a competitor in the NFL. So you got to give the Seahawks credit. You got to give them all the credit in the world because they did everything that they needed to do to pull off the victory. So we're going to take a break here and we'll be back with more news around the NHL, the NBA, and the MLB and the PGA Tour.
Untouchable, unstoppable.
This is WIUR Sports Radio.
Hi, I'm Robbie Basil, president of WIUR Radio, and I hope you're enjoying today's show. Have you ever wanted to call the biggest games, the biggest moments for the biggest names for Iona Athletics? Then the newly founded WIUR Sports Radio is the place to be. Launched in January of 2025, our goal is to try and get broadcasters here at Iona an opportunity to learn, succeed, and get a chance to be on air. From getting to call the big moments at the hack, Dinkins trying to go to the rack, denied, Yafet Mundi, to seeing the crack of the bat at City Park.
The line drive into left field, around third, and it kicks away. The Gales are going to win it in 10.
We make those moments happen on our brand new WIUR Sports Radio platform on Mixer. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me via email or to the rest of my e-board to join the club. We are WIUR Sports Radio, the new home of Iona Athletics. Now, back to the show on WIUR, Iona University Radio.
We are back after the break. So if you're new to WIUR, I'm Harry Fisher and this is Harry Highlights. So we got to talk about what just happened this past week. So I'm going to transition over to the NHL. So it finally happened. Artemi Panarin is heading to Hollywood. What I gotta say right now is thank you, Artemi Panarin, for everything that you have done for the city of New York and for the New York Rangers organization. This man spent 7 years with the Rangers, gave us some unbelievable moments. One moment I want to point out was that 4-3 overtime win, game seven of the first round, when he scored that overtime goal against the Pittsburgh Penguins to send the Rangers to the second round. I also want to point out all the hat tricks and all the nasty and incredible plays that he made at MSG that made us scratch our heads saying, what did we just see? What did we just witness? Panarin was a superstar and he was a game changer. We wish him nothing but the best as he heads off to Los Angeles. Obviously, the whole news, everyone knew that Panarin was gone. The whole world, the whole NHL world knew that Panarin was gone and he was going to get traded. But we don't know where the Rangers were looking to trade him. But he ends up going to the Kings, and I think he will help the Kings because the Kings have a good core there in Los Angeles. You still have Anze Kopitar, who's in his last season. You still have a bunch of players that are playing well, like Drew Doughty, who is getting up there in age, but he is playing well. But for the Rangers, now we'll have to see what the Rangers are going to do at the trade deadline when we get back from the Winter Olympics. But I want to talk about the Winter Olympics. So, Team USA plays their first game on February 12th against Latvia. The game will be at 3:10 Eastern time here. And I got to talk about the Olympics. So I'm a little nervous for Team USA. I'm nervous for Team USA when they go up against all these teams like Sweden, Canada, who is loaded top to notch, and Finland, Latvia, and all these teams that have spent building their rosters, adding depth, and just adding talented players from top to bottom. From Team USA, I don't really like our odds to win the gold medal. I think we're gonna be pretty good. We got the Kachuk brothers. We got Jake Gensel, who was a big player in the Four Nations last year. We got a pretty good defense with uh no no we got a pretty good defense, and we got so many other good players that are skilled and that have a little bit of grip. But I just take a look at Canada and I'm like, how are we supposed to match up with them? They got Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, who are the best skaters in all of hockey. You got Cale Makar, who's one of the best two-way defensemen in the entire league. You also got Crosby and Brad Marchand that are still playing at a high level, even though they're in their high 30s and all of that fun stuff. But for Team USA, I mean, they got good quality players, but can they compete with the biggest teams in international play? Can they beat Sweden? Can they beat Canada? Can they go up against Finland? Can they score against all these great teams that have all these superstar players? Because for Team USA, I was a little nervous heading into the Olympics because they were dealing with some injuries with the Kachuk brothers. You have Jack Hughes, who's had injury problems throughout his entire career. But I think the Team USA, they're back, and they got a pretty good lineup, and I like our chances. But it's all about, uh can they sustain this momentum, and can they sustain everything that they have as a team when they go up against all these top teams. I'm looking at the roster. So for defense, they got Jake Sanderson. They also have Charlie McAvoy. Hopefully, he's okay because I know that he took a big hit the other night in the Bruins game. Um, you also have Jacob Slavin, who's playing well. You also have Zach Werlenski, who's playing well. And also, you got Tage Thompson, who they call up, who's having a phenomenal season with the Buffalo Sabres, Connecticut native. I'm from Milford, Connecticut, and Tage Thompson, he's from Orange, went to the University of Connecticut. So I think he'll help this team in terms of size and grit. But it's going to be interesting to see. You got Latvia, and we'll have to see where Team USA goes from there. But hockey is really buzzing right now. And let's swing it over to the NBA. So the NBA, a lot of interesting news. The trade deadline, a lot of moves were made. For the Knicks, they traded for Jose Alvarado, which was a big move. He helped them yesterday as the Knicks went on to beat the Boston Celtics. The Celtics also trading for Nikola Vucevic to the Chicago Bulls, which I thought was a good move by them because he played some tremendous minutes yesterday. And you also have Jaron Jackson Jr. on the move. You have Anthony Davis getting traded to the Wizards. Just so many teams making moves, and so many teams trying to upgrade their rosters and trying to, build up their teams the best they can. But for the Knicks, I got to talk about them for a sec. They're playing really well. They're starting to get back to where they were playing at the beginning of the year, and yesterday was a statement win against the Boston Celtics, who have been playing well despite the injuries they've been dealing with in terms of Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown being injured. uh, for a couple of games. But there it's an interesting leaderboard. You got so many teams that are bunched up in the Western Conference and in the Eastern Conference. Right now, the only team I'm worried about for the Knicks is the Detroit Pistons because they outscored the Knicks and they destroyed the Knicks on Thursday. And the Pistons just flat out outbeat the Knicks on every level with rebounding, scoring. Cade Cunningham had a good game, and the Pistons, they look like the team to beat now in the Eastern Conference, and they're the only team that I worry about for the Knicks. I worry if the Knicks can go to a best of seven with them. But let's move on. Uh, let's move on. I also want to talk about golf for a sec. So for golf, yesterday was the Phoenix Open. Chris Gotterup won. He won in a playoff match against Hideki Matsuyama in Scottsdale, Arizona. So the Phoenix Open's always a great event, always right before the Super Bowl. It's just a great event to watch. We know a lot of fans, a lot of celebrities go to it year after year. And let me tell you something that 16th hole, when you get up there, that 16th par three is incredible. Uh, Everyone, the entire fans are screaming. The fans are loud. They're into it, and you don't really see that too much in golf. I've never seen it anything personally in golf, but when you get up there, there's so much pressure on you right on to hit it right on the green and hit it right next to the flagstick. If you don't hit it on the green, the crowd's not going to cheer for you. If you hit it on the green, the crowd will cheer for you. And there were some interesting shots yesterday, but every golfer that gets up there, there's so much there's so much anxiety that's running through them to put it on the green to get the crowd going. But yesterday we saw some good performances. Scotty Scheffler had a nice performance, finishing in the top 10 of the leaderboard. So he played well yesterday. Um, you also have Maverick McNeely, Akshay Bhatia, and a handful of other players that played well yesterday. It's going to be interesting to see for the PGA Tour. You got some great events coming up. You still have the Players Championship that's right around the corner. You have the Arnold Palmer Invitational that's right around the corner. Um, but uh, but there's a lot of great things to look forward to, and I'm gonna be looking to see who's gonna win the Masters and who's gonna win the U.S. Open coming up. So I'll be watching the PGA closely to see who's playing the best and who's not playing the best. But all right, well, that's gonna do it. Thank you all so much for listening to Harry Highlights. We'll be back next week to recap what's going on in the Olympics and recapping everything that is going on with the NHL, the NBA, and the MLB. Spring training's underway. Pretty soon, the Mets and the Yankees are going to be playing some spring training games. I'm interesting to see how the Mets are going to do with the offseason that they had, moving on from regrouping after losing Alonso, Diaz, and Nimmo, and all of their big time players that were fan favorites. And I'll be interesting to see how the Yankees are going to do, not making too many moves in this offseason. We'll have to see what spring training does and where it's going to take us. But I'm excited for baseball. All right, well, that's going to be it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. This has been Harry Highlights. Make sure to tune in every Monday at 11:30 on the WIUR network. Thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.